Right, so this is part 2 of the bouncing ball tutorial, and in this bit of the video we are going to make the ball bounce several times. So to do that we need to make our timeline longer. So right now we've just got the ball bouncing once, so what we want to do is make it bounce 4 times. So I'm going to change my timeline here to 199. So it's going to bounce, I'm going to go to 4 seconds roughly. Okay, so now if I press play, you'll see that the ball will just bounce the one time. So what we want to do is make it bounce, say, 4 times. So I'm going to make sure that Select Surface Objects is turned off, and then I'm going to drag select all my curves here, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit here in the timeline, and I'm going to copy and paste these curves. So what I want to do is drag select all the curves, go to Edit, Copy, then go to frame 25, make sure I've got just those last two selected, and go Edit, Paste. And now the ball should bounce twice. There we go. And now I can drag select all of that, Edit, Copy, and then go to frame 149, click on the grey background, select the last two keyframes, making sure I'm right here at 149, Edit, Paste. Press A in the graph editor, and I should now have 4 bounces. 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. That's exactly what I want. So we got the ball bouncing 4 times. Maya is not particularly good at copying and pasting curves. We kind of got lucky here because this is a relatively simple rig, well, a very simple rig. So it's not necessarily a great technique to use on a lot of things, but it does work here. So now let's have the ball bounce along the screen, and in order to do that we need to let's select the main control there, and let's go to Translate Z, which is this arrow here, the blue one, and this blue thing down here. And I'm going to delete, we've got some keyframes in the middle here, and I'm going to delete those. So I'm just going to drag select them and then press delete on my keyboard. And what I'm going to do is at frame 1, I'm going to move the ball over to this side of the grid, and then at frame 197, I'm going to move it over to that side of the grid. And then press A in the graph editor, and you'll see we've automatically, Maya gives us a spline curve with a slow in and slow out. We don't want that. So I'm going to drag select that curve and just straighten it. I'm just going to hit the linear tangents button there. And now if I press play, you'll see that my ball is bouncing along, bounce, bounce, bounce in a straight line. By the way, if we had that as a spline curve, this is what it would look like. Wait, where is it? Why can't I? That is spline, isn't it? Whoops. No, it's not allowing me to do it for some reason. But if I flattened these tangents off here, you would get a slow in and slow out, which is an unnatural motion for this kind of thing because the ball needs to be traveling at a constant rate. So we want to, there we go, a straight curve, if that isn't a contradiction in terms. So the ball is traveling along in a straight line. And one thing you'll notice is that it should be reducing in height each time. So what I can do is pull that height up there and make it bounce slightly less each time it bounces. I'm holding down the shift key with my left thumb, and we're going to have to adjust some of these little curves here to stop this getting too crazy. But you can see as the ball loses, or as physics, friction acts on the ball, it will gradually lose height. Remember, we're always subject to Newton's laws, although Newton's physics is only a kind of cousin to cartoon physics. We still need a nod to Isaac Newton in the classroom. So there we go, ball bouncing slightly less each time. And we can also continue with this to make the ball slowly bounce to a stop. the ball will bounce in the gap between the ball bouncing should be reduced slightly. So these positions here should actually be getting slightly less with each bounce, so that the amount of distance it's bouncing is slightly less as well. But I'm just going to leave that for now, and I'm going to suggest that we add a little bit of geometry to make this into a little bit of a set, so that we actually make the ball bounce down some steps as it goes. So actually what we want to do is, in order to do that, I need to, when it bounces the first time at 113, I want to raise that off the ground like that. So actually what we can do is just take this whole thing and move it up like this. So now we've got the whole ball bouncing down an imaginary set of steps. So if I go to 113, that's the side of the first bounce. And if I go and create a basic simple object, so let's go to polygon primitives. Make sure that interactive creation is turned off, by the way. It will make your life a lot easier. Let's create a cube. Now that cube will arrive at the origin, and if I move that up and then press the scale tool, which is this one over here, and then move these guys out like this. Pull on these little handles. We're getting into very basic modeling here. And I can create a step. Pull that down. There we go. So I've got a step, and what I can do is move that up. Now if you deselect it for some reason, let's say I've deselected it. If I click on it again, it's not going to allow me to select it. And that's because we've got select surface objects turned off. So if I want to select it, I need to turn that on again. And that's because this is geometry, this is an object. So we do need select surface objects to be turned on at this point. So now the ball is going bounce, and then it's going to bounce again, and it's going to bounce here at this frame, 11137. So instead of making the step again, let's actually name this. Let's call it step 1, like that, in the channel box. Let's go ahead and duplicate it. Control D to duplicate. And now all I have to do is move that down. And you see Maya has automatically named it step 2, which is very, very handy because that's exactly what we want. And let's just go back to the beginning and press play. See what we've got. 1, 2, 3. There we go. So the next bounce was at 161. So let's go ahead and duplicate it again. Control D. Let's move that down. And then it's going to bounce again to 185. So let's do that again. Control D. Step 4. And there we go. So there we have it. And there's our ball bouncing down some steps. Now we haven't added any squash and stretch yet. And we would really need to. And in order to do that, I'll just show you how to do that here. I'll show you how to add some squash and stretch. So the ball is going to fly down. So let's have the ball kind of stretch out a little bit. Just like that. Actually, we need to keyframe that channel. So let's keyframe that at frame 101. That's the control bottom. And let's stretch it out a bit at 113, so we get a little bit of a stretch on it. That'll give it a kind of cartoony feel. And then when it hits the ground, let's squash it. And then let's stretch it out again when it bounces up. And then when it hits the top of that trajectory at 125, let's take that back to 0. And that will give us some squash and stretch. Something like that. And it'll make it feel generally more bouncy. So there you have it. Another thing we can do is add a camera. You could also add a floor down at the bottom. And you could also, if you wanted to have the ball come to a stop, having it roll to a stop, you could do different kinds of balls. Try making it look like a golf ball. Try making it look like a basketball. Different things to make it more interesting, more variable, get more variety into the animation. But that is a basic ball bounce tutorial. So have fun with it, explore it, try different things, see what you can get out of it.